Good morning, good evening, and welcome to our ONR Global Live Recruitment webinar, as we focus on the future and finding the right talent to advance our mission. My name is Felipe Reich, member of the Command Strategic Communications team. Our chat box is now open, so feel free to submit your questions as we'll be answering them at the end of the webinar. Thank you. But before we get started, we'd like to share you a quick video with an important message from our members worldwide.
I love working at ONR Global because of the great people who work here and because we're part of building the future Navy and Marine Corps, which is very meaningful.
Hello, future ONR Global shipmates. This is Dr. Christopher Hagney reporting in from U.S. Naval Forces Southern Command in the 4th Fleet down in beautiful Jacksonville, Florida. I just want to let you know how great this job as a science advisor here is. You get to work with sailors and Marines every day. You get to travel to new and exciting places, deliver innovative technologies to the fleet, and work on these beautiful ships. How awesome is that? What more could you ask for?
It's a wonderful type of work to do. We get to meet scientists and engineers all over the world who are doing state-of-the-art research, and we get to help the Navy and the Department of Defense at the same time. È veramente un tipo di lavoro incredibile. I would encourage all of you to apply if you're interested.
I love working for ONR Global because this job gives you a really unique level of flexibility and autonomy in how you develop S&T partnerships for the Navy. I get to visit all the best research institutions in the region, meet with incredibly talented scientists, and use those meetings to build fantastic international partnerships within my discipline. I find this incredibly rewarding. I hope you'll get the opportunity to join our unique and diverse team.
There are many things I love about working at ONR Global, but at the top of my list would be as a scientist, waking up in the morning, identifying cutting-edge work, and having the mechanisms to engage those scientists performing those work and forming collaborations and partnerships with these scientists.
Bom dia, good morning. My name is Stephanie dos Santos, and I work at ONR Global in São Paulo, Brazil. What I like about working at ONR is the chance that I have to see science diplomacy in action, and as well as being an active part of the diplomatic relationship between the United States and Brazil.
I love working for Global because the science advisors have a direct impact on the future capability of warfighting for our naval fleet and force.
Hallo, ich bin Patrick Holzer. Ich bin Science Director für das Office von Naval Research Global in London. Ich liebe meinen Job, weil ich durch die Welt reisen kann, tolle Forschung sehen kann und auch mit Forschern in die Zukunft schauen kann, was man sonst nirgendwo machen kann.
Eu gosto muito do meu trabalho, já que tenho oportunidade de olhar pesquisa de alta gama, conhecer cientistas de renome mundial e viajar em todo o Brasil. Além disso, conhecer a arte e cultura do Brasil é muito legal. Bem-vindo ao Brasil.
ONR Global is a great place to work because you're surrounded by a bunch of people that are interested in taking technology, accelerating it, and getting it to the fleet as quickly as possible.
Now, I'd like to introduce you to Captain Matthew Farr, Executive Officer of the Office of Naval Research Global. Thank you, sir.
All right, thanks, Felipe. And on behalf of the ONR Global Commanding Officer, Captain Borghardt, and our Technical Director, Dr. Jeffries, welcome to our live webinar. We're excited to be doing this. So hopefully you can see the slides presentation that we have prepared, as well as this video in the smaller window. So like I said, we're doing something different this year. In previous years, we have traveled around and given this this recruiting presentation physically in person. But we're excited to be doing this. It's something a little different. It's one example of how our command has been flexible and agile this year. So if you're looking at the slides, hopefully you see a slide that's got three main blocks in it. And so what I want to talk about is how ONR Global is positioned. We're part of the larger naval research enterprise, which is over 4,000 people. And we are connecting that naval research enterprise. We're engaging in over 60 countries and over 1,000 partnerships. We do that through our technical departments, and that's everything from international science, international engagement, the science advisor program, experimentation and prototyping, and we're doing that through several areas of funding that covers everything from basic research through experimentation. So we see ourselves as the connector for all of that for the naval research enterprise. You just heard in that short video from some of our current employees, and I had a big smile on my face watching it. Hopefully, depending on your system, hopefully you saw it and heard it. If not, that's okay. That video will be made available, as well as this webinar, which is being recorded. It'll be made available along with the presentation so that you'll be able to see that afterwards. But in addition to the video that you just saw, in this live webinar, you're going to hear from some more of our current ONR Global members, a department head, a science director, and a science advisor. So I'm excited about that. And you just met Felipe Reich, who is our strategic communications lead for the command. So thanks to him for helping put this all together. What we really want to accomplish today is to tell you about the command, tell you what we're up to, look at some of our hiring planning, and then to answer some questions. Like Felipe said, if you have a question, put it in the chat, and we're going to try to get to those at the end of the presentation. If we don't get to all the questions, that's okay too. We will be answering those, and we'll get those sent out to everyone who's registered for this webinar via your email address. So if we could go to the next slide. And hopefully what you're seeing now is global objectives. And so I just want to briefly touch on this. Discovering the best science and technology, maintaining global technical awareness, and then collaborating through our partnerships. Those are the basic objectives. You can see spelled out a little more clearly what each of those mean, but the main point is that all comes together for delivering capability to the fleet, which is really what it's all about. I find these objectives very rewarding, and I'm proud to be part of the command that does this. So I'm going to quickly move through these slides. If you could go to the next one, Felipe, because I want to be able to get to our guest panelists. But you should be looking at a slide now that is that spells out our mission and our vision. So for ONR Global, the mission is really all about presence, and it's globally. It's not just international, but that term global is chosen specifically because we're present in technical and operational communities, meaning both international partners and globally where the Navy and Marine Corps Fleet and Force are located. And so we're investing in trusted partnerships. We're investing not only with funding, but with our time and our people and our presence. And it's all about connecting science and technology leaders. So we're not just focused on the technology, but it's the leaders that we want to get to and connect back to the larger naval research enterprise. And it's all for maritime security. And then you see our vision there, which is a pretty lofty vision, but it's what we keep on the forefront of our minds, and that's to be the partner of choice for science and technology leaders. So again, the emphasis on the people. So I'm going to ask Felipe if he could go to the next slide, because I'd like to touch on each of our 6 technical departments. So you should be seeing a slide right now with the first 3. So international science, that's our 24 science directors. And these are PhD level subject matter experts deployed around the world, working out of our 7 offices internationally, seeking out the best research, science and technology around the world. They're assigned to countries and technical areas. and they do a great job. Next is science advisors. So we've got 25 science advisors deployed around the fleet, working and embedded directly on the staffs of our operational commanders at the flag level. So that's both for Navy and Marine Corps, and that's our direct link to the Navy Marine Corps, back to ONR and the Chief of Naval Research. So a great resource there to maintain connectivity. The third one there, international engagement. So this is our team where we get, we maintain and we develop the military to military, government to government, international partnerships. They are leading the effort with our formal bilateral agreements with several nations, and doing a great job there, really focusing on toward interchangeability with our partners. Let me go now to the next slide. So you should be seeing another, our next set of 3 departments. So let's talk about experimentation and analysis. This is a relatively small team, but they have a big job. They're the hub of experimentation for the Navy and Marine Corps. And this experimentation is kind of a broad term. They are specifically focused on getting technology and putting it in the hands of warfighters during fleet exercises for these experiments. So it's a critical function, and it helps us make better informed S&T decisions as we go forward. Next, tech solutions. Another relatively small department, but doing great things. This is our rapid prototyping department. And the best part is that sailors and Marines can submit their proposals and ideas, solutions via a website. We take those in and we get prototypes turned around in 12 months and then transition those back to the fleet and force. So, last year they transitioned 9 prototypes, which is huge. Lastly, foreign comparative test. Again, relatively small team, but doing great work, and the numbers prove it. So we manage all proposals for foreign comparative tests for the Navy and Marine Corps, which is run through the Office of Secretary of Defense. These proposals are for foreign developed technologies that might meet a need or a requirement in the Navy or Marine Corps. Right now, we're managing 23 active cases with an investment of less than $70 million and a return on that investment of over $2.4 billion in cost savings. So again, small team doing big things, which is kind of the story of ONR Global. So with that brief overview, I'm going to start to introduce our panelists now. First up, we have Ms. Shala Malone. She is our department head in charge of the International Engagement Office, and they are managing 18 formal bilateral agreements with a combined value of over $1 billion. So big job there, and I'm going to turn it over now to Shala.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody, or good morning, depending on where you are. My name is Shala Malone. I am the Director of International Engagement, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what our office does, which is basically what Captain Farr went over. We handle all of the mill-to-mill, government-to-government, bilateral engagement, which basically means my boss meets with their bosses, and we bring people together. So we really are the group that focuses primarily on building the relationship with a international partner. So if you are, sometimes we look at ourselves as the matchmakers for international engagement, specifically with a focus on cooperative or cooperation, which basically means that we focus on not foreign military sales, but developing a program or project together. So when Captain Farr mentions that we manage, 18 bilateral engagements, that is basically us working with another country and their military office to foster a relationship that will eventually or hopefully deliver capability that will increase not just the U.S. Navy's fleet needs, but also our international partner. So that's definitely a key objective of ours. The other thing that we focus on is building that relationship. So even if in year one, we don't necessarily deliver a capability, we deliver that capability, which is the relationship. And in order to build that relationship, it takes a team. Our office is fairly small. but we have a dedicated staff that is there to not just assist our efforts, but also help the ONR Global team and the larger NRDE as well. So we are kind of the go-to folks when you have a question about international engagement and cooperative opportunities, but we're also just knowledgeable about international activities as a whole. So one of the things that I emphasize when I'm looking for a person to serve on our team is the ability to work within a team. That is definitely a key objective of ours because we rely heavily on each other because of the fact that we are so small. My group is a team of 8, including myself and 2 contractor support folks. And so we need all of the help and flexibility that we can possibly manage. That's definitely key to what we do in any given day or work day. So one of the other areas that we focus on is we work across with the science directors. We work directly with the science advisors, the experimentation team, along with the foreign comparative test team and the tech solutions. Those are definitely, ONR Global should be seen as a family. And we rely on all of the family members to participate to get the job done. So there's no I in team, but there is a M and E. There's a me, and we all work together to get the job done in order to provide a cohesive product that then gets out the door and delivers capability or increased capability to the fleets. Again, our purpose is to build a relationship with an international partner as we start to develop our areas in the great power competition, as well as the relationships so that we can foster increased science and technology knowledge across the board. The other thing I guess I would emphasize is we are currently an age where we are making do with what we have. Given our current situation, which normally would be that I would be in the office or I would be live giving this to you right now. And as I am live from Washington, D.C., which is my home, we are definitely creative in how we continue to foster the relationships in the age of COVID. It is definitely an opportunity to explore and figure out how to continue to prosper and grow a relationship when you can't do a face-to-face dialogue with your counterparts. And we've seen, ONR Global has been one of the communities to step forward and make the most of what this situation has to offer and learn the most from, teleworking, using the VTC capabilities, as well as taking advantage of Microsoft Teams and the webinars that we have established. So with that, I'm sure you have an opportunity to ask any questions in the question box, and Felipe will forward them to us as we need. But I'm standing by, and I'll pass back to Captain Farr for any further questions. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Shala. That was great. We're going to move right along. I'm going to introduce our next panelist coming to us from London. And you saw a quick bit from him in the introductory video. One of our science directors, Dr. Deji Coker. So over to you, Dr. Coker.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. My name is Deji Coker, and I'm the Science Director for Artificial Intelligence, Autonomy, and Unmanned Systems. So what can I say about ONR Global? So just to give you a feel, the Science Directors, we mainly function as tech brokers, and we link ONR, which is the Office of Naval Research in Arlington, the Naval Research Lab, also in DC, the Naval Research Enterprise and Department of the Navy, to foreign international scientific efforts around the world. And as you saw in that little clip, right, one of the motivations, or one of the best things about this job is that, I could be reading a scientific journal, IEEE, and see that there's been a discovery, in a great university in Europe on a particular area in artificial intelligence or material science. And I have the mechanism to try to go visit those scientists, to talk to them about their work, and to try to engage them in collaborations with the Naval Research Enterprise. So that's just, I think that's one of the primary areas of our primary functions of our jobs as a science director. And to that, we identify disruptive S&T around the world. So tech awareness is also one of our primary responsibilities, which is to identify when there's new developments in the way science is developing or trending in specific technology areas. So the science directors, so we're about 23 or 24 science directors around the world, and depending on what office you are, you cover a specific topic area. So for myself is AI, but I have colleagues who cover biotechnology, quantum, and also cover so quantum, biotechnology, platforms, and platforms and materials. So we cover different areas. So we cover a wide gamut. All these technology areas map into specific priority areas for the Naval Research Enterprise. And our job is to, what I say is we're tech scouts, right? And we're in a very competitive landscape. And so as a science director, your main role would be to go out there and in a very competitive world where scientists have their pick of opportunities or pick of funders to work with and present a case for them to engage us. And around the world, the US is still a trusted partner, and we try to make it that way going forward. So another great part of the job is initiating and managing grants. So once you've identified a good scientific opportunity, you have the mechanisms in terms of the grant tools that we have at ONR Global to engage in partnerships with those scientists. So you can either give them a travel grant to come to the US so one story I like to tell, right, is that, as a scientist, you've been to many conferences and you've seen those collaborators that you've always wanted to work with, but you've never had the opportunity to work with them. So we encourage US scientists, particularly those in the Naval Research Enterprise, to let us know who those scientists are, especially if they're doing cutting edge work, and we give them the resources to make that engagement within those scientists. So it's like I said, there's few jobs where you have that opportunity, right, to work and create those mechanisms for those scientists to work with US scientists in this very competitive world. And also, I think one of the best part of the job for me is that we do it kind of reversed from the way it's done in the States, right? Which is, people submit blind grant proposals for you to fund, but our job is primarily research, it's primarily relationship building. So we're looking to build lasting relationships so that, we take kind of the Silicon Valley model, which is if a scientist has a great finding or a great discovery, that you don't want them to go to your competitors. You don't want them to go to the UK or to China or Russia or what have you. You want them to come to the US and say, hey, would you like to partner in this effort? So that's part of our role, to be able to be that forward presence that allows those scientists to know that we exist and that we're a bridge to the DoD and the Naval Research Enterprise. And what else can I say about this job? So it's a great job. I think it sells itself. You get to travel to very beautiful countries. You get to see the way S&T is influenced by culture. And you get to see how different people approach different problems in a very creative way. And as Ben not mentioned in the video that you saw at the beginning, we have the autonomy to engage those scientists in a manner that's most conducive, right? So as you go to different countries, you learn very quickly that you have to adapt to those countries, you have to adapt to those cultures and the ways of doing science, and you have to figure out ways to engage them in a way that attracts them to work with us. So it's a multifaceted job, and it covers a wide swath of areas. And I think the slides are up, the topic areas, and we work closely with with ONR HQ, and I should mention that so in closing, I'll mention that one of our primary roles is to create that bridge, which means that once we find a partner of choice or we find a great partner, we don't just fund them in obscurity, right? We connect them with ONR and the program managers so that they can be part of bigger programs. So when eventually the grant runs out, there's a transition path for those scientists to work with ONR. And we measure our success, right? Well, I think when we were in our former office, we had a big wall and we would track those of scientists that we've engaged who've won Nobel Prizes. So you are at the top of the food chain when it comes to science, and the relationships and the opportunities not just the relationships actually, sorry. It's also a learning experience. So it's been a learning experience for me. So I came in to ONR Global as the science director for O30, which was expeditionary and regular warfare, and now I'm working the AI side of the spectrum. So I've had an opportunity to work different and multiple technology areas, and I've grown a lot from that experience. So I really encourage you, if you to apply for this job, because it's not just a job that looks at one technology area, it's a job that looks at a wide array of areas. So even if you're an expert in one particular area, you get an opportunity to also grow in breadth, right? And so we do tech awareness, which allows us to cover a wide area. So it's a great job, and I'm available for questions from Felipe, and also I think our email will be available in case you want to reach out. So with that, I will refer to Captain Farr. Continue.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, Dr. Coker. Really appreciate it. We're going to move to our next panelist, also somebody that you saw in the introductory video, one of our current science advisors, Dr. Chris Hegney. Over to you.
Hey, thank you, Captain Farr. Yeah, this is Christopher Hegney. I am the science advisor for U.S. Naval Forces Southern Command and the 4th Fleet down here in Jacksonville, Florida. So I wanted to just discuss a couple of things, what it is that we do, how we do it, and the benefits for you to take this detail on. So the main part of what we do is we're embedded with the fleet. So our job is to understand what the fleet's needs are, where those gaps are, where technology can fill them, and push that back to the people in the labs at the Naval Research Enterprise, at Naval Research Lab, ONR, that are developing new technologies, so that they understand what the needs are of the fleet for those new capabilities that they're pushing out. And so the second part is the opposite of that. We're supposed to look for technologies that are being developed, that are near completion, and get those out in the warfighter's hands so that we can get that feedback to the developers before they're done and they deliver something that maybe isn't quite what the warfighter's looking for. We want to get it in the warfighter's hands, let them see the technology, see what's coming, provide that feedback, and hopefully the final product is going to be something that meets exactly what they need. So it kind of works both ways. We're supposed to find the needs, tell everybody that's working on them what the needs are, and then get new technologies and get them out to the fleet's hands. So that's what we do. How do we do it? Well, I sit at a numbered fleet. So we have ships. So the plan here is to get technologies, get them out on our ships, get them integrated into our operational exercises. I work with the planners on staff. I work with the commander. I let him know and I get him fired up on these new capabilities because he has needs to accomplish a mission. And he's accomplishing it with whatever tools he has. So if there's a new tool that we have that can help do it better, faster, and we can get it out into our exercises, he's very happy to jump on that. So that's how we do it. The science advisors at the TICOMs, they're a little different. The numbered fleets, we focus on anything in our region. In my case, our region is South America, Central America, and the Caribbean. So I care about anything that's on the water, below the water, flying, space, cyber, anything that affects this region. The TICOMs, they're more capability centric. If you work for CNAF, the Commander of Naval Air Forces, you care about the air platforms anywhere in the world. But ultimately, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to help make the warfighter more capable, more powerful, more able to accomplish their mission. Okay, so as far as career building, why would you take this detail? When I took this detail, I came from an acquisition command, NavAir, and I was mainly focusing on sustainment. I was working in a readiness center, fleet readiness centers. So I had a hole in my knowledge of really how the operational Navy does its business. So I wanted to take this detail to get into the operational side, understand better, round out my understanding of the Navy. And when I return back to my home command, I'm gonna know what needs to be done. And that was really a big portion of what I was trying to understand out of taking this detail. Other benefits, obviously, it's ONR Global, so there's a good amount of international travel, as Deji mentioned, and that's fantastic. In my previous job, I did plenty of international travel, but it's supporting the mission, right? So in this case, whenever we're going into theater and there's something that I can influence and I can have a technology presence of, a lot of times I get to see that firsthand that otherwise you might not be able to do now when you're back working in the lab. So it really is. It really allows you to see how we work with our partners, how relationships are built, how culture affects the technologies and the developments and the military capabilities that we have as a warfighting institution. So it's really awesome. And then the third piece is networking. Just on the science advisor side, we have 25 science advisors that are in every different major command, operational command for the Navy. So I can pick up the phone if I have any question, and I'm one phone call away from having an answer. And these folks all come from different backgrounds. Some are coming from surface warfare centers, air warfare centers. I'm from a readiness center. We have IPAs coming from industry or FFRDCs, federally funded research and development corporations. So everybody has just an incredible amount of knowledge. And so if you have some obscure question, you would be surprised how many people are within this ONR Global family that can just answer that right off the bat. And you take that back with you. So after you conclude this detail, you've got some really great bonds and great friendships with very, very highly motivated movers and shakers within the DoD. And you take that back with you to whatever you're going to do going on from here. So this is really a catapult for your career to really reach whatever that next level is that you're looking to achieve. And so that's all I had. I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm going to pass it back up to you, Captain Farr.
All right, thank you very much. So we'll keep through the brief. I really appreciate all the input from the panelists, and they're going to hang on for the question and answer period at the end. So I think we'll go to the slide that says openings. Right now, this is what we're looking at. I'm sure you're very interested, but science advisors, science directors, mission support, possibly even international engagement, but certainly the official announcement will be the definitive answer, and we're targeting release of official announcements here the end of October, and those will specify exactly what positions and locations we're looking at. I will say one note: if you've tracked ONR Global in the past, specifically with science advisor positions, we've streamlined that process. This year there will be one announcement to cover all of the locations for science advisors, and then we'll work with candidates specifically on location preferences and the needs of the Navy. So that'll be a little bit different, but the bottom line is USA Jobs official announcements will be the definitive answer on what's available. But certainly hiring multiple positions this year. So with that, let's go to the next slide. And the next two slides actually, these are notional timelines, just to give you an idea of what to expect. Here we are in right at the beginning of this schedule, and basically takes you through the announcements all the way through onboarding, targeting the end of next summer to onboard. In that schedule are things like orientation, which we intend to do, travel restrictions pending, but we intend to do that in Arlington face-to-face, but we've certainly proven that we can do these sorts of things virtually if needed. You might be wondering, hey, are we able to move internationally? So we have had success once the initial restrictions were lifted in early summer. We have had success moving folks internationally, and we've got several procedures and mitigations in place to be able to do that, depending on the location. So there's the science advisor selection schedule. If you go to the next slide, there is the science director selection schedule. Very similar timelines between the start and finish. Again, those are notional, just to give you an idea of what to expect. And then if you go to the key question slide, so I don't know how many questions we've got generated so far, but we at least wanted to tee some of these up and maybe give you an idea of some questions to ask. You either ask today, or you certainly are encouraged to reach out to the email addresses that we're going to provide at the end of the brief, which includes a talent manager email address where you can always send any question to, and we'll make sure it gets to the right person and get you an answer. But in general, I figured we would take a couple of these. Is the work at ONR Global challenging? Yes, I hope so. I hope that you're challenged. I know speaking to folks, and hopefully you got the message from our panelists, it is challenging work. It's fast paced. There's potentially a lot of travel involved, a lot of relationship building, dealing with a lot of different folks, all the time. So I think it's pretty challenging. And there's another question here. How long will I be overseas? Or in general, how long are these tours? The typical tour is about 3 years. So, we like to get about that rotation, and then you can move on to something else and take what you've learned at ONR Global, and then that's beneficial to the Navy and Marine Corps, and it's potentially career advancing for you as well. And then we can get someone fresh in here and give them the opportunity, especially internationally. There's obviously limitations on how long you'd want to be outside of the U.S. Another question: where do my kids go to school? So it's every location. It depends. Many times there's a DoD school that's available locally, but if not, that's okay. There's a program for that for non-DoD schools, for example, in London. There's no DoD school there where our headquarters is located. So the DoD does pay for your children to attend school. So that's all covered. And, those, along with many of the other questions that you see on this slide, like medical care, what do I do outside the gate? Those questions are all location dependent. And so we have information about every location. You'll be assigned a sponsor, a mentor. There's plenty of opportunity for turnover and to work with the folks who are already at that location. But those are great questions to get information of your sponsor before you head over. But as far as outside the gate, we put that in quotations. There's not always a gate. Again, for example, at our location in London, we're not with a Navy base. We're there. You are essentially living on the economy, as we say. It's up to you to find your housing and things like that. And there are resources there to help you do that. So if we go to the next slide, and again, if some of those questions are something you'd like to have answered, please drop it in the chat. And very soon here, we'll get to those. I've got a map here. You should be looking at a map investing in trusted partnerships. This is the map we use just so you have an idea where are we located. And I know it might be kind of small, but everywhere you see a dot is a place where we have either an office, or it might be a single science advisor embedded with an operational staff, or science directors, and you see the headquarters there in London, and you see our office where I work as the XO in Arlington, which is the Office of Naval Research headquarters. So that's just a good reference. You can see where we're located. And so when the job announcement comes out, you'll see jobs that are basically aligned with those locations. And I think one more map, if you go to the next slide, Felipe, I like this map. It was put together by our strategic comms team. And I think this is great. We took just the locations where our offices are with the science directors, overlaid on a map of the world's best universities. And what you can see are these concentrations of where science and technology is happening, where research is happening. And you can see that our offices are, for the most part, aligned with those locations. So it's not by accident where we're located. So I think finally, you can go to the last slide, Felipe, and so you should see a slide that says key contacts. So the top of that list, that's that talent manager email address I mentioned. That's a great one to use for any question at any point, and we'll make sure that you get an answer. And then the rest of the team here has their contact information if you've got questions. But I think to keep us on track here, I'm going to ask Felipe if we have questions, and we're going to go straight to that.
Thank you, Captain. Some great questions from the audience, so a big thank you to all of them. First one, are naval officers potential candidates for science advisor positions?
Okay, so right now we're not billeted for active duty naval officers to be science advisors. The typical science advisor is a government civilian. Although we do have the ability to have science advisors from some of the UARCs or FFRDCs as well. But I will mention that we do have a science director billet for an active duty naval officer that's filled by an 05 right now. And, and just I'll mention the other services. Army and Air Force have similar positions to science advisors where they do have some active duty officers as well. I'll add to that just to say for any active duty officers that are interested, we do have 2 regional director billets, one in London, one in Tokyo, and those are filled at the 05 level as well. So back to you, Felipe.
Thank you, sir. Another great question here, very informed because the launch was just yesterday. How do you see the addition of the Naval X London Tech Bridge affecting the ONR Global mission?
Okay. Yeah, I'm actually really glad to hear somebody ask about that, because we just announced, Secretary Gertz announced the London Tech Bridge just yesterday at the Atlantic Future Forum. So I'm glad to hear the word is getting out. This is just a very natural partnership between ONR Global and Naval X. We're very closely tied. As you know, Naval X is now part of ONR as we are. And so this is really, a very good use of the architecture, the resources that we have in place in London. And it's going to open all kinds of doors and create tremendous opportunity for our partnerships there, where we're historically, we've been aligned with academia. This is really going to open the doors for everywhere from small business to large business to all kinds of research happening in the UK. And what it does is it creates that opportunity space, an actual physical location, but also the tools to be able to collaborate and partner with entities in the UK. And Naval X is really providing those tools. They provide the pipelines, and it's all about delivering capabilities. So this is really going to be a great partnership. And I mentioned a regional director. So Commander Arnold, who was on late last night, actually, with Mohawk Matt from Naval X, they did a long interview. But he's our London regional director. He's now the London Tech Bridge director. So we adjusted his tasking a little bit because obviously it's very important. But it's just a great use of the resources and just really a natural partnership. So yeah, great question.
Thank you, sir. How important are foreign language skills?
I would say they're pretty important. We are all about the international partnerships. Several of our employees are at least bilingual. And if you saw the video, many of them chose to exercise some of their bilingual capabilities, which is awesome. And so as you are building trust, and you're internationally present, it goes a long way if you're, speaking in the language there, locally. So, I wouldn't say that it is an absolute necessity, but certainly if you're looking at applying for a job, I would highlight that, and there is value to that. Yeah. So thank you. Good question.
Thank you, sir. 2 questions in one here. What's the highest level of classification a science director could expect to encounter? And would a science director coming in with a TSCCI is risk losing while serving?
Okay, yeah, great question. So almost everything we do is at the unclassed level, and I think you're going to find that a lot of times in basic research. A lot of our funding is in basic research. But that's not to say we don't specifically exclude anything that's classified. We do have the ability to work at classified levels, and so that's not discouraged or excluded. I don't see any issue where someone would potentially risk losing any sort of TSSCI or anything else. But it's not a requirement. It's not an absolute requirement for candidates.
Thank you, sir. COVID-related question here. How do science advisors work with the ships during this time of COVID-19?
Okay, I think you said, how do they work with the ships?
Yes.
So,
exactly.
Yeah. So actually, because we have a science advisor on, Dr. Hagney, I'm gonna ask him to answer this question in just a second. But I will say, the science advisors, really more than anybody, have been probably the most agile group in shifting their their daily routines, their focus, and what they are helping the fleet with to absolutely respond to the needs for COVID. But if Dr. Hegney, do you had any additional thoughts on that? Feel free to jump in.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, sir. It's difficult, right? The Navy is still operating, so ships are going out and they're doing their thing. We have to just be extra careful that we're not contaminating a ship, because that's a big deal. It affects readiness, and readiness is paramount. So so that being said, we take all the typical precautions, right? If you want to get on a ship, you typically have to ROM, restriction of movement. So you would fly to the location where the ship's going to be, and then you would sit in a hotel room for 2 weeks or something like that. We have looked at technology solutions to speed that up, everything from ultraviolet light decontamination to rapid testing and things where we need to. But for the most part, we follow the same guidance that you're probably following right now with your restricted travel before you can get on a ship. Over.
Thank you,
All right,
Doctor. Is there any specific question here? Yes, thank you. Is there an S&T assignment rotation schedule? I was a S&T director in London from 2001 to 2004, and I'm interested in the S&T director position in Santiago, Chile, after 2023.
So the basic answer to your question is that we look at it every year. We like to maintain a lot of flexibility for our employees. Like I said, the typical tour is about 3 years, but I can't say with certainty that a specific location will be available in a certain year today. But there is, so I will just say it depends. There is a basic rotation, but again, because we're looking at different locations, different country assignments, and then the needs of the Navy as far as technical areas of expertise, those things can change from year to year. So,
thank you, sir. Great question here. Now that we have learned that we can work remotely, are you looking at creative ways to cover some locations from current locations, given the right candidate?
Yeah, great question. We are actually looking at that. In order to be good stewards of the funding that we're given, we have to be able to look at every location and decide, do we need to be here? Can we do this from somewhere else? And that is an ongoing discussion, especially after this year. I think we've just proven that some extent of this can be done via telework or working from home. However, one of the other things that we've seen, for example, is our science directors are a great example. Because they were already deployed overseas, they were able to continue a good deal of their mission. Now, a lot of that's been done virtually, but they're also still able to travel locally, whereas they wouldn't have been able to cross international borders. They were still able to accomplish some of the mission physically because they were already there. And that actually underlined and underscored the fact that we were deployed internationally. But absolutely, we're taking a look at that. And even Office of Naval Research in general has undertaken a larger study to essentially say, what did we learn from this year? How can we take the best parts of this situation and apply it going forward so that we don't just fall back into the old routine? And that's not the goal. The goal here is to see what we can do that's even better. So yeah, great question.
Thank you, sir. What is the minimum requirement, grade, time in service for the science advisor position?
So, typically, I don't want to say that there is there's a minimum, because really you can come from government, you can be in government now, or you can come from outside. You don't have to be a Navy civilian. If you've got, the kind of expertise we're looking for, I think it's, and you're motivated, you're energetic, you're the kind of person that can make connections and make things move, you're probably a good candidate. in general, the science advisor position is a 14, 15 level, but it does involve potentially temporary promotions in order to get you there. So, I don't want to say that there's an absolute minimum. That'll be spelled out in the announcement. But whether you're inside the government or outside, we may have an avenue to bring you on. So I would encourage you to apply, even if you think that you may not meet some preconceived minimum level. So great question.
Thank you, sir. Does someone take a leave sabbatical from their current DoD position to serve with ONR Global, or is it a separation from your current position to take on a new position?
Yeah, good question. I will, again, maybe if Dr. Hegney wants to answer, feel free to jump in. But I'll say we do have agreements with essentially the rest of the Navy, the warfare centers, Syscoms, to be able to do what we call detail lead positions. So you actually report to ONR Global as a science advisor, then you will deploy to a host command where you're actually working under a flag staff under the flag level commander. So you've got your home command that you came from, then you're detailed to ONR Global, and there's paperwork that essentially governs that, and then you are assigned to a host command. So that's a long way to say that yes, I mean you're technically leaving your command, but they hold your spot, and you essentially go back to that command, unless you're always welcome to apply for other promotions, which happens quite a bit. I'll just see if Dr. Hegney wants to add on to that. If not, that's okay.
Yeah, I'll add a couple of points of clarification. So you maintain on your home roles. So my supervisor right now that signs my leave chits and everything is my original supervisor from NavAir before I came on this detail assignment. But because you're being paid by Captain Farr and ONR, you have to report, what you're planning to do with leave, any travel, anything that you're doing, you've got to report obviously to ONR. They're paying the bills. And you also report to your staff. So when I work for my home command or my command here at 4th Fleet, I talk to the chief of staff about any travel I'm going to do, any leave I'm going to do. So you just have to coordinate and manage it. But you stay on the books of your home command that you left, and you have return rights. So you'll work with your HR. You'll sign a thing that says, hey, I'm leaving at this position. I'm going to go do this, and you're going to hold my spot. That's it.
Thank you, Doctor. Another question here. They keep coming in. Thank you very much for your high engagement. Do science directors engage with local governments, labs such as DSTL in the UK? Are there joint efforts?
Okay, awesome. I'm gonna toss that one to Dr. Coker, but I can give you the short answer is yes. But over to Dr. Coker for any details.
Yes, we have a robust partnership with DSTL and other UK MOD SMT outfits. And we do that also with other countries. Norway, we have some. Sweden, we have the same as well with the DSTL equivalent. And for example, right now I'm working with DSTL to jointly fund local universities to work on joint projects in AI. So yes, we do have partnerships, and we work quite a bit with government research labs. Over to you, Captain Farr.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Is ONR Global open to an IPA agreement with university faculty?
Yes, absolutely. We have. I think we've got 4 currently on staff, and that can fluctuate. But absolutely, if you're interested, and that goes for definitely science directors and science advisors, because we have IPAs in both positions now. But if you're interested and you're in that position, I would highly encourage you to apply. We do have an avenue for IPAs.
Thank you, sir. We still have time for a couple more. Is it a requirement to have already been a science advisor in order to be selected as a science director?
No, there's no requirement. You can do either or. We have had folks that have done more than one science advisor tour. I think we've had folks that have done that, go from science advisor to science director, but there's no requirement. They're independent roles.
Thank you, sir. How do you submit a project proposal in ONR Global as a civilian in the U.S.?
Okay, how do you, okay, I'm thinking that this is just in general, like you have an idea or, some sort of a project that you think ONR or ONR Global might be interested in. So the number one avenue to do that is every year, the Office of Naval Research has a broad area announcement or broad agency announcement, a BAA, on their website. And that actually spells out some of the technologies and emphasis areas we're looking for. But more importantly, there is a form that you can fill out. And that's how we take all the submissions and ideas, proposals, and ONR Global is part of that as well. I will mention that we had, we used that BAA specifically this year for a challenge, the Global X Challenge. And so under that BAA, we had a special notice. We collected white papers and then asked for proposals, and we intend to continue to do that. But that's probably the best way, the number one way. I would also say that if you submit an idea via the connector tool, the Naval X connector tool, then your idea will get into the pipeline, and Naval X will take it from there. And again, we're partnered with them. So great question.
Thank you, sir. What sort of support staff positions are open?
So again, we'll finalize the actual list by the end of the month. But just to let you know, we have positions in operations, in administrative support staff, travel support. There's financial related positions, and those positions are essentially in all of our locations that you see, where either our headquarters in London, our office in Arlington, or the science director locations, not the science advisor positions. They're individuals at those locations. But there will be potentially several of those in multiple locations. So great question.
Thank you, sir. I think we have time for one more.
Okay.
Can you extend if you would like?
Can you extend? Absolutely. That's one way that we like to provide flexibility for our employees. And so, if you're in a position and you want to extend, we typically ask folks if they want to extend, and that actually happens quite a bit. So that's definitely an option. And yeah, we've got the ability to do that, including overseas. We have authority to extend people past the normal timeline if desired. So great. So I think, yeah, I know we've got about 2 minutes left, and then the webcast is going to end. So I just wanted to wrap us up here. Hey, thanks for joining us. This has been awesome. I really enjoyed hearing from our panelists. I'm glad we had the opportunity to do this. It's something new and different from the past. Again, this will be available if you need to see it again. Both the introductory video, this webcast, the briefing that we use will all be available. If you registered for this webcast, we have your email, and we'll get this information as well as answering questions sent back out to you. But I just want to say thanks again to Felipe Reich, who really put all this together. Thanks to our panelists, Mishala Malone, Dr. Deji Coker, and Dr. Chris Hegney. And thanks to all of you for participating and following along. Looking forward to working with you in the future. Thank you.